I wasn't meant to hear it. It was the kind of laugh you recognize in an instant. The sharp, playful edge of someone who has just let their guard down. I had heard my wife laugh like that 1,000 times before, usually when she thought no one else was listening. But this time, it wasn't meant for me. I froze halfway up the staircase, one hand on the banister, the other clutching my phone. The door to our bedroom was cracked open. Inside, she was getting ready for a concert with her friends. But it wasn't her laugh that made my chest tighten. It was the voice that followed. A man's voice. Low. Intimate. Whispering something I couldn't make out. Her laugh again, softer now, like silk tearing. I should have turned around, coughed, made a noise. Anything to announce myself, but my feet were rooted to the steps. Every nerve screamed that I shouldn't be there, that I shouldn't listen. That once you cross that invisible line, there's no going back. But I stayed. In hindsight, the cracks had been there for months, maybe years. Nights when she said she was too tired for dinner, but her phone lit up until 2 a.m. The sudden shift in music tastes. Bands I'd never heard her mention before playing on repeat. The new clothes, a little bolder, tighter, not quite her usual style. I told myself these were small things. People change. Married life settles into rhythms, and sometimes those rhythms drift. I loved her, so I smoothed over the doubts like wrinkles on a shirt. But hearing that laugh, her laugh meant for someone else, tore every excuse apart. When she came downstairs, she was radiant. A shimmering black dress that hugged her frame. Red lipstick she hadn't worn for me in months. Wow, I said, forcing a smile. Big night. She twirled once, her earrings catching the light. It's just a concert with the girls. Don't wait up. I wanted to ask, who was on the phone? Who makes you laugh like that? But the words knotted in my throat. Instead, I kissed her cheek, and she was gone, leaving behind perfume that lingered like a ghost in the hallway. That night I didn't sleep. I sat in the living room with the TV muted, watching shadows move across the walls as the clock ticked. I replayed every detail of our life together. The first time we met, our wedding vows, the mornings we woke tangled in each other's arms. And then I replayed her laugh, again and again, until it no longer belonged to me. When she finally returned, it was 3:17 a.m. She crept in, thinking I'd be asleep. She smelled of smoke and something musky, not perfume but cologne. I closed my eyes, feigning sleep as she slid into bed. Her back was to me, stiff, careful, as though even her body feared touching mine. I stared at the ceiling until dawn. The next day, I told myself I wouldn't pry. But temptation has a way of rotting through promises. Her phone sat on the counter, charging. She was in the shower. My hands shook as I picked it up. The screen unlocked with her fingerprint still on the sensor. Messages. Dozens of them. His name was saved under something innocuous. M. The texts were fragments of another world, one I hadn't been invited into. Can't stop thinking about last night. Wish I could see you instead of pretending. She doesn't know, right? And her replies. God, her replies. No, he's clueless. He trusts me too much. I'll tell him when the time is right. You make me feel alive again. My chest tightened. Alive again. As if I had been the one draining her. As if the life we built together was a cage she had been plotting to escape. I dropped the phone just as the shower turned off. For the next week, I played my role. I smiled at breakfast. I kissed her before work. I asked about her day, nodded at her answers, made love to her when she allowed it. All the while, I carried the truth like a shard of glass lodged under my skin. Every movement cut deeper. But I watched. I listened. The more I paid attention, the clearer it became. Her sudden work events. Her quick silences when I entered the room. The way her eyes flickered toward her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. She was already halfway gone. It was a Thursday night when it all cracked open. She said she was meeting friends again. This time, I followed. Her car led me downtown, past the restaurants we used to visit, past the theater where we had our first date. She pulled into a dimly lit parking lot behind a bar. And then I saw him. Tall. Confident. He opened her door like it was second nature, kissed her like he had kissed her 1,000 times. She melted into him, her arms circling his neck as if the rest of the world had disappeared. I stayed in my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. I wanted to storm out, scream her name, tear the night apart. But I didn't. I just watched. Because watching hurt in a way I couldn't put into words. When she came home that night, I was waiting in the kitchen. The only light came from the fridge, casting her face in fragments. "How was the concert?" I asked, my voice steady, too steady. She froze, mascara smudged, lipstick faded. "It was fun." I slid her phone across the table. "I know." Her breath caught. Silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. Finally, she sat down, her shoulders slumping. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered. I felt invisible. "You stopped looking at me the way you used to. He made me feel wanted again." Her words cut deeper than the betrayal itself. I wanted to scream. To tell her how many nights I stayed awake planning surprises. How many times I reached for her only to be turned away. But instead, I asked the only question that mattered. "Do you love him?" Tears welled in her eyes. She didn't answer. And in that silence, I heard everything. The weeks that followed blurred together. Conversations became logistics, bills, belongings, lawyers. Our house, once filled with laughter and warmth, became a museum of what we had lost. I found myself replaying that moment on the staircase. The laugh, the voice, the choice to stay and listen. If I had walked away, if I had coughed, if I had trusted her one more time, would ignorance have been mercy? But betrayal, once seen, cannot be unseen. It stains everything. Months later, after the papers were signed, after she had moved out, I received a message from an unknown number. It was from him. She left me too. Said she couldn't choose between us. Said she needed to feel free. I stared at the words, a bitter laugh escaping my throat. In the end, she hadn't chosen him or me. She had chosen herself. And maybe that was the cruelest betrayal of all. Not that she loved someone else, but that she never loved either of us enough to stay. Sometimes late at night, I still hear that laugh echoing in my memory. But it no longer belongs to her. It belongs to the moment I learned that love can shatter without warning, like glass slipping from your hands. And once it breaks, you can never put it back the same way again.